stop scrolling for just a moment, because what I'm about to tell you might change the way you look at every stranger you'll ever meet again. There's a moment on a simple train ride, a moment so small that most people would have missed it, that exposed one of the deepest mistakes we all make without even realizing it. A grown man was acting like a child, and the people sitting next to him were certain they knew exactly what was wrong with him. They were dead wrong. And the truth, when it finally came out, left them speechless. Stay with me until the very end, because the lesson hidden in this story is something you'll want to carry with you for the rest of your life. An elderly father and his grown son stepped onto a crowded train and settled into their seats. The young man took the spot right beside the window, and the moment the train began to roll forward, he stretched his hand out into the rushing air, feeling the wind dance across his fingers. Suddenly, with the pure excitement of a small child, he shouted, "Dad, look! All the trees are running backward!" His father simply smiled and nodded, calm and unbothered. Sitting nearby was a well-dressed married couple, the kind of people who keep their composure in public. They exchanged an uncomfortable glance, a little embarrassed that a grown adult would behave like a wide-eyed toddler. But the young man wasn't finished. A few minutes later, he cried out again, his voice trembling with joy. "Dad, do you see it? The lake, the animals, the clouds are racing right along with the train." The couple watched in growing discomfort, completely puzzled by this strange behavior. Behavior that the young man's father, oddly enough, seemed to find perfectly normal. They began to whisper between themselves, convinced that something was seriously wrong with the man beside them. Then the sky opened up, and a gentle rain began to fall. The first drops landed softly on the young man's outstretched hand. And once again, he was overwhelmed with happiness. He closed his eyes, let the water touch his skin, and shouted, "Dad, it's raining! The water is touching me! Do you feel it too?" Finally, the couple could no longer hold their tongues. Leaning over, with a tone of polite concern that barely hid their judgment, they asked the old man, "Sir, why don't you take your son to see a good doctor? He clearly needs help." The elderly father turned to them with a quiet, patient smile, and what he said next silenced the entire conversation. "We are actually just coming home from the clinic," he replied softly. "You see, my son was born blind. Today, for the very first time in his entire life, he can finally see." Here's the truth that hits like a freight train. We are all so quick to judge what we don't understand. We see a stranger acting differently, and within seconds, our minds write the entire story. And almost every time, we write it wrong. That couple looked at pure, miraculous joy and mistook it for madness. How often do we do the very same thing in our own lives? The person who seems rude might be carrying a grief you can't see. The coworker who seems distracted might be fighting a battle at home. The stranger who seems strange might simply be experiencing something beautiful for the very first time. Before we rush to label, to criticize, or to fix someone, maybe the wisest thing we can do is pause and remember that we never know the full story behind another person's behavior. So here's my question for you, and I genuinely want to hear your answer. Has there ever been a time when you judged someone too quickly, only to discover the real truth later? Share your story in the comments below, because someone reading it today might need exactly those words to soften their own heart. Your honesty truly matters, and it's what keeps this community growing. If this story moved you, subscribe and stay with us, because the next lesson might be the one that changes everything.